Hello and welcome back to the SNS Football Podcast. We've had a little bit of a break again. We seem to be doing this every other week now, but that was just because of pure busyness due to other issues, shall we say. But now we've come back with a little bit of a different show because football has gone mental in the past, not even 24 hours. You're probably looking at 19 hours and it doesn't look very good for the road ahead. But as always, I am joined by Morgan. So, Morgan, can you hear us, lad?
I can, mate. How are we all?
Yeah, we're good, mate. Firstly, how are you? And just a quick initial thoughts on the news.
Do you know what? I think this might be quite an anomaly, but I've expected this for a while. I've done a lot of research into the Super League. I remember Lawrence McKenna 5 months ago now talking about this European Super League, and back then, even now, what he said was so spot on, which I'll move on to later. But obviously, yeah, the initial reaction from everyone is one of shock, and I guess it's going to change the dynamic of football that we've known and grown up with, especially our generation as well.
Definitely. I mean, I think as well with a lot of our streams, we've managed to keep the language relatively PG, but I feel as though there could be points where the old, word gets slipped in because I think, especially for me, it's been like, oh my word, what's going on? And just pure anger.
Same.
But for this huge topic, it's only right that we get more opinions on it. And what best place to start than the FPL graduates who are, like I said, as every time they come on here, they're everywhere. Go down the Chippy and you'll find them. But literally, they are absolutely everywhere. So we'll get in Josh and we will get in Brano now as well. Boys, how are you doing?
Yeah, not bad.
Been better.
To be honest, Brano, I think that is the perfect statement. I think we've been better. And I think the best place to start is to get straight into this absolute monstrosity of whatever's happened in the last 19 hours. So, Josh, I guess as fellow United fans, unfortunately, our club, especially in higher levels of the club, are at the forefront of this, and the Glazers massively behind this, and Ed Woodward as well. It's really sickening to see Man United at the forefront of something which contradicts our complete history as a football club.
Yeah, I said it earlier in my TikTok. I think it goes against the morals of football. You look at the teams that are involved in this, and about at least 50% of them from England, at least, they come from working class backgrounds. They're built on that sort of foundation. And then you look at it today where it almost seems like there's a huge disconnect between the top level of clubs and then even like the management staff beneath. Like I don't think anyone there wants to be a part of it either. And I think they understand the game more. I saw quotes from Goldbridge yesterday saying that Glazers haven't been to a game in 2 years. So like, how can they be making these types of decisions when, like they haven't even been watching what's been going on? It's just a bit of a joke, to be honest. And yeah, not happy with what's unfolding for sure.
Definitely. I think the Glazier quote that still gets me from, I think, 2 years ago was he was saying that he still doesn't understand the offside rule. Yeah. And this is a bloke which is creating a whole new league and is going to be, is it vice chairman of it as well? I mean, it's absolutely beyond me. But luckily, we've got sort of Morgan, who's not obviously top six club and not currently in the Super League with Villa. And then we've also got Ben, Reading fan in the Championship. We'll go to you first and then Brennan will come to you. Morgan, are you annoyed Villa's not in this because of your club's history? Let's put it this way. You've won more European Cups than Arsenal and Tottenham. They're both in it. You're easily on par with Arsenal and Tottenham in the league. They're both in it. Would you have liked an invite? The answer is no. And I don't think any fan of any club in it now doesn't want to be in it. But isn't it a little bit like, how on earth are these teams getting in the Super League, whereas Villa, who's a massive club, isn't?
I think that's the most interesting thing, is how what actually deems these 6 to be of a status to enter it. You do look at a club like Villa, and I know a lot of people will mention Villa fans in the same conversation as fans that lived in the past, but the facts are there. We've won more European trophies than 3 of the teams that are in it. It's a nonsense. But you know what? I wouldn't even be surprised if Villa were one of the clubs that they tried to lure into it, because we are owned by NFL and American owners. Nassif Suarez and Wes Edens, they own an NFL team and based in America. So I really wouldn't be surprised if Villa, being the prestigious club that we once were and are trying to get back to now, I wouldn't even be surprised if we've been contacted about it. But I feel as though it's just mental, really. Especially when you consider clubs like West Ham this season, clubs like Leicester that have broke almost the mould of this traditional top 6, and speaks volumes, doesn't it, when Jose Mourinho rumoured to have walked out this morning after saying that he just didn't want to do it anymore, and they sacked him there on the spot. So, but with Villa, it's a bit frustrating, but at the end of the day, in recent history, we haven't been anywhere near the top 6. A year and a half ago, we were in the Championship. So I'm not surprised that we're not included in it, And yeah, I could imagine that with our ownership, we may try and get lured into it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think likes of Leicester, Leicester have won the Premier League more recently than Man United, than Arsenal, than Tottenham, big clubs there that are in it. Brano, Reading, Championship, obviously. In terms of me supporting Argos when League One, this does not bode well for teams that are in Championship and in League One and in League Two, because all this money is going straight to the elite clubs. We're seeing the figures being chucked around, and it is monumental, the amount of money that clubs could potentially earn from this, and then give their players to keep them quiet so they play in this. However, if this is to obviously still go ahead, do you think this would actually end up having a positive impact on these Championship and lower clubs, because more fans would actually start to go and watch them now?
If you can look at it that way, but the main worry for me is the closed league system thing that they're trying to propose, and that just means that the money that they generate and they distribute that within their closed system. There's no way of getting that down through the leagues. In England, we've got a great system where the money that gets generated by the Premier League clubs eventually gets filtered down into the Championship, League One, League Two, via parachute payments and all these other stuff that they got. So it's going to take away revenue from Championship, League One, League Two teams. I think it could be potentially good for non-league clubs. People are going to be like, you know what, ain't supporting the top 6. And I don't blame anyone who turns around and goes and supports a non-league club, their local club, on the back of this. Because if that was my team, I'd be the exact same. I'd be, straight off season ticket down a non-league club and go there every week, because the investment that you put into the club gets put straight back into the community. So, yeah, I think for non-league, potentially could see a better sort of more fans coming in. But for football league clubs, I'm very, very worried about the state of that if this all goes ahead.
Yeah, because I think, obviously the great thing about English football in general is, the last day promotions, the last day relegations, obviously, unless you're on the end of them, which I have been before with Argo, and it's not nice. But, that's what makes English football from Premier League all the way down so good is, you have them stories of, take Barnsley, for example, in the Championship this season. I think, don't quote me on whatever the odds were, but they were tipped to go down this season. They're now in the playoffs. So that just shows you. And then we had Sheffield United last season, just got promoted, and they finished, missed out really on European football because of a poor run of form after Project Restart. That's what English football especially is about. But Josh, some of the clubs mentioned in this Super League is obviously all the big boys, the top 6 in the Premier League, your Real Madrid, Barcelona, just to name a few. Are you surprised that obviously the news has come out that Bayern and Dortmund are not going to enter? Are you surprised that especially Bayern aren't in this league? Because when you do look at the Bundesliga, sort of similar to the likes of PSG as well, aren't in it currently. But you look at Liga and Bundesliga, Serie A normally, there's usually one team that wins the league most years, bar an anomaly. So are you surprised Bayern Munich aren't in this? Because I know you're a big fan of Josh Kimmich as well. So do you think they will end up being bullied into this league if it does still go ahead, obviously?
No, I think I was more surprised that Leipzig, they came out and said that they're not going to be. I think if there was a team from Germany that was going to go into it, it might have been them. But I think in Germany, they have almost the same culture as us in terms of like the working class football system, but their clubs just haven't been overrun by these billionaires that have come in from the likes of America. It's mainly what we're seeing at the minute. I know Arsenal and United, etc. There's obviously American owners, and they're obviously trying to franchise the league, which isn't ideal. And I feel like, for me personally, it makes the Premier League just pointless. Like, if you don't win it, where is like anything else going to come from there? That's what obviously keeps the competition. Like, for example, this season with Man City running away with it, you should be watching Premier League games for no reason for about a good quarter of the season, if not longer. I don't really like the idea of that, and I don't get why they want to play in the Premier League as well as this new competition if it's going to be like that. It makes no sense. I don't see how it's going to cope with Carabao Cup and FA Cup fixtures as well, with all the fixture rotation that goes about. I really don't understand it. I think they've done a terrible job of actually declaring what this competition is. It almost seems like it's just been conjured up out of thin air and just pushed towards it. And especially with these big teams, like you mentioned, Barcelona, Real Madrid, United, Arsenal, Spurs, it's just convenient how all these teams get put into it when realistically they haven't really done much in the last decade to suggest that they're even anywhere near the top teams in their own leagues, let alone anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think the interesting stat as well is out of the 12 or 15 teams that already been put in this, I think only 5 of them won this weekend in their respective leagues, which just goes to show as well. Just got a few comments in. Let's start here. Hi Shiv, hope you enjoy your stay on our channel. And that's another one from the Graduates Army. Yeah, look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what club you support. It really doesn't matter at this point. It's like, seems like football is very much united on this. We've got Reese in the comments as well, absolutely furious. Andrew Lane, Morgan is a Birmingham fan. If any fans need an allegiance, we at Birmingham City are open to taking on new supporters. So Morgan, you may need to change your club. And then Reese is at it again. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate that. You're probably in most of them, you just don't realise. I think Bundesliga really baffles me because Schalke are in it now, and I think they've just been relegated, have they not? Like,
they're bottom, aren't they? I think, or something like that.
They're bottom. I think, I don't know whether relegations are still happening in the Bundesliga. I imagine they still are. But that baffles you even more. This is the European Super League, and you got a team who is bottom of the Bundesliga. You got almost fallen giants in terms of United, Tottenham, Arsenal, who haven't won a lot, recently or aren't performing well in the league. And they're going into this mega competition, and it's like, well, go and have fun, lads. Literally, that's it. And it hasn't been set up to look really appeasing to fans, does it? And think, oh yeah, this is going to be great fun. All big teams in a big league. It doesn't look right. And Morgan, I guess the worrying thing for you and for the likes of Leicester fans is, unfortunately, your prized assets at the minute, if this is to still go through, not only will the big clubs in the European Super League become richer, but also you'll have players saying, oh, I want to go because they're playing in the European Super League. And because there's no way into that really for you, because yes, they've said, I think, there's some form of, if you get so far in the Premier League or whatever, you do go into it, but they haven't said what the relegation is. They said teams go into it, but they haven't said how teams leave the European Super League. So you could be having players like Jack Grealish saying, I don't know, I want to go to United, just chuck them in there for X amount because they play European Super League football. And I guess that is going to be the same for all clubs that are in the Premier League who aren't in the European Super League as well, because the teams are going to have the money now. Because, you know, when United probably rejected 80 million for Jack Grealish, theoretically they could probably pay that now, couldn't they?
Yeah, I think one thing to mention before I do speak about that is I think the reason why I was reading up on it that Dortmund and Bayern aren't in it as we speak is because they have a 50+1 system in terms of the actual business and franchise of the club, in that, you know, basically the vast majority of the club is owned by the fans. And I think clubs in England and from this should learn and take a leaf out of their book, in that the fans should have so much more of a say, because Dortmund and Bayern are physically not going to enter this league because their fans will not allow it. Whereas with this country, like Josh alluded to earlier, there's such a disconnect between the fans and the owners of these clubs. They do not care less, honestly. If they'd seen the backlash that they've received and still carry on, which it seems likely, it's just a disgrace, honestly. And like you said, it is worrying because, you know, players like Jack Grealish would want to probably play in this Super League. But the way that UEFA and the Premier League, etc., are talking about it, it seems as though that these players that are in this Super League aren't going to be able to compete internationally. They aren't going to be allowed in the Premier League, which is what they want to do, and almost have the Super League as a side. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw players rebel and revolt against this and go against it completely, because we've already had Ander Herrera come out today and say that he simply cannot let this go without saying a word. I've saw John McGinn and Matty Cash making jokes about it on Instagram and Facebook, and even
Bruno's
on Facebook
one as well.
today. Bruno Fernandes as well. The thing is, these players like Bruno Fernandes have come to the Premier League to embrace the whole magic of the league. The whole magic of the league is based on Sheffield United going to Manchester United halfway through the season and beating them 2-1 when Sheffield United are pretty much relegated. It's Villa going to Sheffield United and losing 1-0 against them with 10 men. Anything can happen on any given day, and it's like Ben was saying, it is just going to ruin the pyramid that we've got, this whole system. And if I was a player now in an academy of a non-top 6 club, where's the motive? Where's the incentive to actually come through the ranks? Where's the incentive? Because at the moment, it looks like we're not even going to have an established Premier League next season. It's absolutely nuts, honestly. I can't believe this, to be honest.
It's so much to get your head around in such a short space of time. And like we said, the news has only really been broke. Josh, Brown and myself, and obviously all the other boys were speaking in the group chat saying, 9:30, this announcement's coming. It never happened. And then eventually, because we're all on uni times, we're up until, silly o'clock, it comes out at 11:30. And it's like, oh my God, what's going on here? You got people going live talking about it, more news. You wake up this morning thinking, it's just a bad dream. More news. And it's not good news either, to be honest. Brando, we've got a comment in from here. I think it'd be interesting to see what your thoughts are on it. We've got Liverpool Leeds tonight. And like we said off that, I think a lot of us are more intrigued to see what happens within the game, but also possibly after with Neville and Carragher on Monday Night Football. But for this comment from Brendan, what would you like to see from Klopp and the Liverpool players later? And also, how do you think Leeds will react? So I guess by that is, do you think they'll just let Liverpool win the game, or, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I think in terms of Klopp and Liverpool, I'm not expecting them to do too much to harm their chances of this European League or whatever. But I fully expect Leeds to make a statement tonight. Whether that be from the fans. I know the Leeds United Supporters Trust has actively encouraged fans to go to Ellen Road and protest against this. I've seen on the socials, Leeds are taking the piss out of Liverpool right now. They absolutely are. all over Twitter, everywhere. You see Wolves put up a TikTok earlier of them just mugging off every single European team. So what I'd want to see from Bielsa, and Bielsa is a football man. He's a proper manager, and over the years we've seen that. And if I don't know what I expect, but if I saw something like Liverpool kick off and Leeds just stand on the side of the pitch and just let them score. If they want no competition, let them have no competition. Like they can be the disgrace, kick them out, whatever, because that's not what football's about. It's about fair competition. It's about the equal rights for every team to have the opportunity to perform at the highest level. We see teams like Leicester, look at them. They've come from, Championship struggling, Premier League, winning it, Champions League, and you saw their journey in the Champions League, and that's something magical. And that's something that we love as football fans. You think of iconic teams like that, and I can remember every single game of that Leicester Champions League experience because it was a magical time. That game against Sevilla, unbelievable. So I expect Leeds to make a stand because that's the kind of club that they are. And in the past, I've been fully against some of the stuff that they do, but in this scenario, I think they're the perfect club to be playing tonight.
Definitely. Quickly on Klopp, I mean, we'll get on to the other sort of big news which broke today, because I think the other news that broke today is big news because, yes, okay, maybe their performances and results of recent haven't been quite up to scratch, but you have to bear in mind they're in a cup final next week and they've got a man which wins trophy. So we'll get on to that in a minute. But from Klopp, I think I saw something today which said he's going to demand, a face-to-face meeting with the Liverpool owners, regarding this European Super League. I don't think we see Klopp step down tonight at all. But do you think if he has this meeting with the Liverpool board, and I'm guessing he's possibly going to outline the fact that they don't want to be in this European Super League, but yet the club still go ahead with it, do you think that could be Klopp stepping down? And then do you think others will follow, like your Solskjaers, like Arteta's?
What it needs is that first person. It needs that first person to outright go out to the media, big interview, and say, look, this is disgraceful. We've seen snippets of like Bruno reposting stuff and stuff like that, but that is not enough. No way is that going to be enough. It's going to take someone to completely out the club, out the European Super League, and tell everyone that at board level that the football is corrupt. And I think it's going to take someone, and whoever does that, fair play to him for doing it. Could it be Klopp? You never know, really, do you? Because everything's so up in the air about what's going on. So, will it be Klopp tonight? Probably not. He probably wants to have that meeting with the owners and see what they're saying, because as far as I can tell, it's just been select board members of each club that have even known what's going on. So, we'll have to see. I think over the next sort of week or so, we'll definitely see who wants to be in it and who doesn't, and who's completely opposed to it. So, yeah, we got to hope for that first person to step up. Yeah,
Josh, before I quickly come to you and speak about, obviously Mourinho going today, Morgan, if you look at the likes of the other top six managers, you look at your Klopps, your Pep, your Ole, and your Tuchel, do you see any of them stepping away from the club because they say we don't want to be in this European Super League and the club is still going to go ahead with it? Or do you think they'll stick with it? Because I did see something today which said, Tuchel said something about Chelsea being my employer, so I'm here to, sort of manage them at the highest level, which I guess kind of hints that if they went through with it, he'd stay. But do you see any of the other top six managers actually walking away partly down to the European Super League?
It's a difficult one, really. It depends whether there has been a conversation. If there has been a conversation between manager to owners about this European Super League and they've been made aware of it and haven't stepped away already, then I think they will go through with it. But it seems to me that the craziest thing is that none of these managers knew. None of these managers had a clue. And it just shows how corrupt football has actually gone. And the day that the Premier League died, and the day that football died in general was the day that they let Manchester City have the new ownership. From that day onwards, football has gone like that. And I hate to go on a spiral, but this European Super League, everything about it, and I'd be interested to hear your views on it, it's the Premier League's fault, it's UEFA's fault, it's FIFA's fault. The Premier League have let so many of these people, like the Glazers, like John Henry, like the consortium that own Manchester City, they've let them in. They've let these billionaires in who have no idea about the romance, the sentiment of football clubs, not a clue. They see football as a business, the same as they do in America. They are trying to turn our game that we created. Let's not forget that the poor created this game, and it is now run by the rich. And it's ridiculous because the Premier League let Man City have the takeover. Newcastle then want to do the same thing. And they act like nothing's happened. They ignore it. It's a joke. It's an absolute disgrace. And every single Newcastle fan, I feel so sorry for, because you look at Manchester City, 4 titles since the new ownership. They look like they're going to win probably a double this season. Let's be honest here. They're probably going to win the league. It's pretty much inevitable at this point. The success that they've got, the success that they've got, the players that they've got, but then Newcastle weren't allowed it. The Premier League, honestly, are as much to be accountable for this as possible. And it's quite embarrassing how the Premier League are suddenly coming out and acting as though that they've done nothing wrong, and that the Premier League are like, this is not on. They'll be excluded from this, excluded from that. They're the origin of the problem. They started the problem. If you let these people in, this is what they're going to do to you. Look at what they've built in America. No relegation, no promotion system. Look at the money and investment that they've got. So do you not think that eventually you're going to put 2 and 2 together and think, all of these people coming in, owning Premier League clubs, do you not think they're going to try and do the same thing that they did over there? It's honestly absolutely ridiculous. UEFA letting Manchester City get away with the Champions League ban pretty much paid them off to get the ban uplifted. These clubs are now more powerful, and this proves it. They are more powerful than the governing bodies. And we've let the FA, we've let the Premier League all lie to us and say that we've got the best league in the world. No, we haven't. We've got one of the most corrupt leagues in the world, because every year we get told that something magical is going to happen. And Leicester were the anomaly. They're the ones that beat the trade. They're the ones that have won the league, past Man City, past all these clubs that spend millions and millions upon millions each year. But we've been lied to as fans. And that's why I'm a bit surprised that everyone is surprised in a sense, because we've been lied to for years. It's been there in plain sight. But because we get told year by year at the start of every season that something's different, it's a new year, anyone can win it. It's bollocks. Look at the last 7 to 8 seasons since Man City have won the league. Look at league positions. Barely anything has changed. And like I said earlier, there needs to be major change in the ownership of football clubs, because it's getting to a stage now where the game has gone. It has absolutely gone. And it's just such a shame that we're all sat on here now in a position where some of us are even thinking about rebelling against our own clubs. What I don't understand at the moment is people trying to attack fans of clubs. It isn't the fans of clubs. Everyone's united on this. Every single person that I know, that I've seen on social media, I've spoke to, are all united against this Super League. And it's going to take everyone as fans to unite to just completely get rid of the idea. But honestly, guys, we've been lied to for years. The whole system in this country to do with football is corrupt. And it's only until now that people have started to realise it.
Mate, completely agree. And I think your dog did as well halfway through your speech. I think he was on board as well. You mentioned, obviously, when City ball come in, that was sort of the end of it. I mean, if you look at the origins of sort of Ed Woodward and the Glazers, Ed Woodward joined JP Morgan in 99. In 05, he advised the Glazers in their acquisition of Man United. And in 2021, JP Morgan is the financial person behind the European Super League, and Man United are the reported ringleaders. I mean, if that doesn't tell you what's been going on for the past, 20 years, it's ridiculous, honestly. We'll just got a few more comments in, so we'll talk about this. Shiv says, Ajax coming into the semis like that and Mora winning it. Just won't see that again. Won't be an Origi saving us in the Champions League because our backup will be like Firmino or someone overall 10 times better. Dylan says it's vile. Yeah, it's horrific. And we'll get on to that last comment from Shiv later on. But Josh, we'll come to you about managers leaving. Mourinho, I guess, has been sacked today. I guess that's the official sort of term that's come out, and that's fair enough. A lot of reports saying that he got sacked based off of an argument with Levy about the European Super League and the fact he wouldn't take training today. Is that the case? Because for me, like I mentioned earlier, Tottenham are in a cup final this weekend against Man City. I know at the minute they don't look favourites, but it is a cup final and form goes out the window a little bit for that. And Mourinho is used to winning a trophy here and there in his career. So for me, I don't understand why Tottenham would just sack him based on results now, because I know Tottenham had a fantastic start and now they're obviously not quite where they wanted to be. I mean, they were, probably targeted to finish in the top four quite easily. So do you think Mourinho actually walked and then Tottenham are covering it up because they're saying he got sacked XXYZ, and Mourinho walked because of this Super League?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you hear, that's one of the worst things about social media is that you hear about 5,000 different things for the actual reason. But I saw Fabrizio come out saying it was purely down to results. So it's a weird and suspicious time to sack someone for results, considering the guy just went and lost 3-0 to Zagreb a few weeks ago. Yeah. They got knocked out Europa League. That would be the time that I'd sack Mourinho. I wouldn't sack him, like you mentioned, 6 days before a Carabao Cup final. Man City probably not in the best of form themselves. Obviously, lost De Bruyne at the weekend. It's absolutely madness. Personally, in my heart of hearts, I believe it is something to do with Super League. It seems absolutely bonkers for it not to correlate in some way or form. And it almost seems like it's an easy route for Daniel Levy to be like, this is happening, let's just ship him out. It might get fans back on side, because obviously Spurs fans have wanted Mourinho out for absolutely ages. If Mourinho did voice his opinion about it, he should have come out way more publicly, and maybe hopefully he does in the next few days. Because like Ben mentioned, someone does have to stick their neck on the line, whether they get sacked or whatnot. I don't think it really matters. If I was in that sort of position, I personally wouldn't care if my job was at risk, because it's like the moral, like it's what everyone that has got into sport and why they love sport is because of the competitiveness of it. It's why people come to watch the Premier League from around the world, is because, like Morgan says, anyone can win on any given day. So, yeah, I really, really struggle to see how Mourinho would not have been voicing his concern about that. Because for me, like seeing his career, Porto, obviously we're not sure if they're going to be a part of it, but like he's done his bit in a lot of different continents around the world, and I think he sees the light almost. He seems like that kind of manager. And with Klopp, I'd be very annoyed if he does not voice his opinion some fourth tonight, because he came out, he's so many quotes of him coming out saying like, no, this would be a terrible idea. If he was just to backtrack and be like, like Tuchel did today. I watched that press conference with Tuchel. It's absolutely spineless. Like, I actually hate it. It literally angers me inside just watching Tuchel just sit there happy, pretty, because he's getting paid Christ knows how much money just to be in charge of some of the best players in the world. I just hate to see it.
I completely agree, mate. And I think, maybe the Tuchel bit comes down to, if you stick with us and we go in this European Super League, you'll get X amount of money. So, just keep talking normally and you'll get this. Quickly, follow-up question on Mourinho then. Back to sort of football, I guess. where do you see his next job if he was to go back into management? Because I think the jury's out a little bit in terms of Mourinho and sort of his tactics, his style of play in the modern game now. And also, if he was to come out and say, "Oh, this is about the Super League and it's atrocious X, Y, Z," do you think he would get back into football after that, like in management, or do you think it'd be like a punditry job he would get?
I think he'd take a break. You've seen him take quite a long, sufficient break. So I don't think he'd get into anything soon. So depending on what happens with the Super League, obviously it's all up in the air still. We've seen Boris Johnson come out saying he's going to stop it. Christ knows how he's going to do that, because I've seen like there's laws against anyone stopping it. So he's going to have to seriously cause a storm for that. For me, I reckon there's Bayern Munich jobs free. Nagelsmann's going to be absolutely killer expensive to go and get, because Leipzig aren't going to want to get rid of him. So maybe I think he's one of those managers now where he'll have 1 to 2 year spells at clubs. He'll just hop around the place. I wouldn't say his tactics are gone. Like, there's still a place in the game for them. With Spurs, the team there, like the team was terrible. Let's not give him too much of that, because you have the likes of Kane and Son, and barring that, I don't think anyone else there is really top quality level and would go into anyone else's team like we mentioned City. So yeah, for me, let's just wait and see what happens with this first, and then Mourinho probably find a place in football then.
Definitely. Brian, I'm going to come to you with a question about Boris actually in a minute, but we've got a comment in from Dylan and I can't not read it out because it is just unbelievable. Can't wait to see Noble twat a missile from 35 yards to win the Euros. But as stupid as that sounds, that is the way we're heading, because, you know, players could be banned for playing, you know, Euros, World Cup, starting from this summer as well, which is an absolute madness, because we've had to wait a whole year for them to sort of go ahead. Fans are actually going to be allowed in, you know, certain percentages in certain countries. And then, you know, to only have players who aren't, you know, in European Super League clubs is going to be ridiculous. But to sort of Boris, Ben, it's sort of like a cry for help from the fans, as if to say, well, you know, he's spoken out about this now. Do you think is there anything he can do? Because let's be real here. All of these top 6 owners didn't go last night, do you know what, let's create a European Super League and see how it goes. They've been planning this for ages. They've got every corner covered for people trying to stop it with, like I mentioned, bans on World Cups and Euros and, you know, UEFA coming out and the FA. So is there actually anything Boris can do here, or is it just a little bit of something of hope to the fans?
This is 10 years in the making. This is like 90% over the line now. And they've left it as late as they possibly could to announce it. I think is what they've done. And there's going to have to be, I don't know what would have to happen for this to be stopped, because obviously they're financed, they're backed so hugely with massive money, and there's only so much away from FIFA are going to be able to do. But as the only thing we can do now is, as fans, just pull together, back one another. Doesn't matter who you support now. It's down to us to try and get the players to say something and get the management, because I truly believe that there's nothing we can do to stop this. Rumours are that it's a 23-year deal or something ridiculous like that. And I do believe they're going to paint this to be a success in the first couple of seasons. Oh, this is so exciting, whatever. You're going to get this year after year after year. Same matches, the same results. And then you're going to get teams after 3 or 4 weeks of that season, they're done. There's no relegation. There's no threat of going down. They'll just sit there and take draws and get battered every week. Nothing they can do about it, and you're going to get the same results every year. There's going to be 2 teams left with a chance of winning this meaningful trophy at the end of the season. It's going to mean nothing. And I think a lot of fans have voiced a similar sort of opinion. So the only way that we can try, at least, is just pulling together, and I think that's what we're seeing now.
I completely agree. The only thing we could do as fans is, like you said, pull together and be sort of united as one, no matter what club you support. Unfortunately, though, the way this European Super League is going to be planned out, obviously, if it still goes ahead, and like you mentioned, it does look like they've cornered off every avenue for it not to be sort of put to a halt, is that the majority of the big players from the big teams, the likes of your Salahs, your Brunos, your De Bruyne's, etc., they're going to be playing in the Super League every week. And then when it comes to the Premier League, if, of course, clubs are still allowed in it, you're going to have the likes of, I don't know, for United, you'll have Juan Mata, who's probably 55 by this point, still knocking about. You're going to have, players, sort of squad players at City playing in the Premier League, because they're not going to care, because it's the European Super League that they focus on. So the Premier League, and then competitions like the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, which some clubs don't really care about to begin with now, are just going to die out, and it's going to be irrelevant. And that's without mentioning the Champions League and Europa League.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we've got is these American investors have underestimated us. All they're used to and all they've ever seen. None of these American investors come to England. None of them go and watch Premier League games. They don't know what it's about. They don't know what the lower leagues are about. They have underestimated us. They think they're just against the Premier League teams. It ain't just the Premier League teams. It's Championship, League One, League Two. We will have millions of fans against them. And I think that's the only fuck up that they've had along the way, is they've not realised that together we are actually quite strong. And I think that's where we've got to play our card as fans. And, they underestimate us. American fans, they're all happy about it, whatever. They haven't changed anything to do with the MLS. They're quite happy to have a closed league. But the English footballing heritage runs so deep in this country that, if there's going to be any chance, it's going to be through the sheer history and the sheer, determination of these fans. And I can, as much as I hate to say it, there will be riots across the country, because it is that deep with English fans. And it almost sounds stupid me saying that, but, that it's going to come to that in the end. It really is.
It will do. Josh, did you wanted to say something as well, or?
Yeah, well, I think I agree with Ben with what he's saying about the fans. I think that's totally one of the ways. I think the only other way, really, and it's not even a realistic way, because I just can't see it happening, is by a full player boycott. Because if they ain't got any players, they aren't going to be able to showcase them off in this league. But even then, I still can't see that happening, because if you was in the football player's shoes and they're paying you 500 grand or something ridiculous like that, are you really going to turn it down? Are you going to turn down that style of living for your family, etc.? Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be one of those where it's like moral versus money. And it'll be interesting to see. I really want players to come out, though. Like the fact that no one's come out today so far, really, and said much, like a few Insta posts, that's a load of bollocks, to be honest. Like I want someone to come out on like Sky News or whatever it might be, and sit down with someone and answer some questions and what they think about it.
Yeah, definitely. And, I guess for me and you, Josh, is this news broke.
Just as well,
yeah. This news broke halfway through the United game yesterday, or even, I think it might have even been in the first half. And then obviously it broke later on. And, I don't think when it first broke, we expected it to go boom at like 11:30 at night, and this is what we wake up to today as well. And like I said, it's taken sort of the ecstasy of, yesterday United, let's put it this way, had a battle against Burnley, scored 2 late goals, you win 3-1. Like we were over the moon, 3 points, we're edging closer, could we push City all the way? And then now it's like, well, we don't care. We literally couldn't care less who we're playing, whether we finish second, bottom, or anything now. It's like, what's the point in the rest of the season? Because even if Man United, before you come in, even if Man United, the only chance is to win the Europa League this season of like major silverware, really. Firstly, we may not be able to do that because they may kick us out. Secondly, they may just cancel the competitions if there's teams in it. Thirdly, even if we win it, what's the point of us being in the Champions League next season? Because it's dead because of this European Super League.
Yeah, it honestly feels like someone's died or something. I feel like almost my connection right now is just non-existent with Man United as a club. I followed them literally my whole life since I was a child, and it literally feels like they're just spat everything in your face. Like it feels terrible. And anyone who supports the top 6 team, I imagine, feels the exact same way. Like you back them, you buy shirts, you buy games, like no matter what, you buy tickets, and then for them to just go and do this, it's just disgusting. Like if Man United, as a Man United fan, go into this Super League, I will not be supporting them from now on, because it's just not something that I can get behind personally, in terms of just totally ripping up the moral of football that everyone in this call, I imagine, stands by.
Definitely, mate. We'll have a look at a few in the comments because we had them in. Apparently, fans are protesting outside Ellen Road, so I suppose that's a good sign. Brendan says it's extremely unfair on players. They're expected to play domestic football on the weekend and then fly around the entire world to play games in neutral venues out in Australia midweek. And also, I guess another point to add to that is, I guess if the Champions League still went ahead, technically teams would still be in that as well. So you'd have Premier League, Champions League, European Super League. That's 3 games in a week, really.
They already moan about travelling to Europe, let alone travelling to bloody Australia and Singapore and whatnot. Like, it literally, the actual, it just makes no sense. Like, it's stupid. I actually don't understand it.
It's so stupid. Week in, week out, how are they meant to balance that alongside training and their normal lives? Completely agree. Shiv says they will have sides on 30 world-class players per squad, one for Super League, which is obviously going to be the better team, and then the other competitions will just be made up of the second team. Risa said they'll be banned from domestic football, so I guess that alleviates some games.
I don't think they have the backbone to ban them. I genuinely don't. Have we seen any signs from the governing bodies that shows that they're going to be competent enough to follow through with this? Have we seen any evidence of that? We haven't. It's just frustrating all around because we know it's coming. There's nothing we can do about it, and there's no one there that's got the ability, it seems, to be able to stop this from happening. And they threatened this. They called the bluff. They've called it straight away. They think it's a bluff. Why do they think it's a bluff? Because they haven't seen any evidence that, in the past that they've shown anything like this, that they can do anything like this. So saying that they'll be banned, unless they follow through, if they follow through with that, I'll be very surprised. But, it's one of them ones where it will take, like Josh said, full teams to just say, no, we're not playing. And I think that's the only way we're gonna be able to do it.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Brandon said they probably will be banned, but this was the expectation of the clubs when the plans for this league were made. It was intended to be midweek games between domestic games on weekends. Shiv says you have to back whoever against this, e.g. if Ollie protests, I'll be with him as a Liverpool fan. Mark Goldbridge said that very well last night today. And I think Mark Goldbridge, to be fair, I've watched a lot of his stuff, especially last night today, and he's talking with real passion. And he had Craig on from Anfield Agenda, Thogdam on today. I think Robbie from Arsenal Fan TV is coming on tonight as well. So, like I said, it is literally Football United at the minute. This is an interesting point just quickly made by Dylan here. PSG not involved because they're owned by Qatar, the World Cup venue. So maybe after the World Cup, PSG joins because they want their players to play at the World Cup.
Yeah, it's interesting that, because even still, like with the World Cup as it is, if all these players go and play, the World Cup's not going to be like the World Cup that we know it. Like it's going to be some like lower league World Cup or something. You know what I mean? It's just not going to be the same. I've seen Fabrizio tweet that Serie A clubs plan on staying in the domestic league as well as competing in the Super League. I just don't get how logistically this is all going to work. Like that's what I mean by it's fair enough coming out and saying, oh yeah, brand new league, it's going to start in the summer.
These teams are suggesting that it's almost suggesting the fact that these games will take place in Europe. They won't take place in Europe. They're going to be in America, where they can sell the seats for double the price and gain double the revenue off of that.
Bigger venues.
Yeah, and you could have 100,000 seater in like Austin, Texas, or whatever, or you could go, to to Asia, and the following over there is ridiculous. So, I don't understand. I just don't.
Yeah, Morgan, we'll come to you. I mean, like the boys just said there, and I think Mark also said it yesterday or today, I can't even remember, there's been that many shows and news come out, that you're literally going to have Man United 1 week playing Real Madrid in Asia, next week they'll be playing Barcelona in Australia, then they might play a game in Canada, then in USA. This is not for the fans because, you know, personally for me, look, I'm not from Manchester. I'm not, you know, from Salford or anything like that. But I've supported Man United because they were my dad's team. He supported them way before, you know, they were successful back when Leeds were winning league titles, Liverpool were winning league titles. You had to wait 26 years for United to win their first title. That's how long ago. That's why I support Man United. I'm not a Manc. So for me, going to watch United, it was always an absolute privilege because, you know, if I got a ticket, I'd honestly go probably once every 2-3 seasons because that's the only chance I had of being able to watch United. But now for the general fan, but even for the ones that are Manc born and bred, they're from Salford, they're not going to be able to watch their team week in, week out because instead of making a day of it, where they go to the pub early doors, then they go watch a game, then afterwards they go to the pub and that's their day done. Now they're going to have to make 2, 3, 4, 5 days out of it because they've got to travel to X, Y, Z to watch some team play in this competition, which doesn't care about the fans.
Football hasn't been about the fans for years. You know, you look at all of the games behind closed doors and how much it's impacted the players. You know, you look at Sheffield United this season, had an absolute car crash of a season without fans. You know, last year, absolutely storming through the league. The support was unreal. This year, they've been shambolic. And it just shows you how much the players value the fans. It's a real shame that the owners of these football clubs don't value fans at all. And it's quite clear that not only do the owners of these clubs not value the fans, the Premier League don't value fans. Because if they did, they wouldn't have let these owners come in the first place, like I said. And they would have set up a system like they've done in Germany where the majority of the club is owned by the fans. And whatever the fans say, they do. Because at the end of the day, football, it has always been about the fans. But in the modern game, it's unfortunately not. And it's like the boys alluded to, you know, people buy season tickets, people buy merchandise. We get taken for absolute mugs. The amount we spend on ticket prices, you've got Arsenal fans paying over £100 to go to a game, to watch that shite every week. You imagine when they go back into that stadium, they can't even fucking beat Fulham. Jesus Christ, honestly, it's a joke.
True.
They're paying absolute extortionate fees to go and watch terrible football. Arsenal releasing 7 training kits during a year, during a pandemic, the pay-per-view.
Sorry, just quickly on that, Morgan. Before you carry on, can we also point out that whilst this European Super League is being masterminded, where Arsenal are getting 3.1 billion or something in like overall revenue, they're sacking off 50 odd staff members and killing Gunnosaurus. What's a joke?
It's actually laughable. Like I can't think of one good thing that comes out of this Super League.
Oh no!
It's literally a glorified pre-season tour. That's the way I see
it. Even if I genuinely tried, I couldn't find a way. Honestly, there is no good to come out of this. But like I was saying, the Premier League blamed it on Sky, BT, that the pay-per-view was not their fault. Absolute bollocks. You're not telling me that the Premier League, who run the league, had not took responsibility. They are cowards, honestly. They are just as big of cowards as everyone else in this. And they're just as culpable for this movement of the European Super League. It's a joke. The pay-per-view was embarrassing. We're in a pandemic and they're charging you 15 quid to go and watch Burnley Fulham.
Do you know what? It's probably the most fairest point you've made.
No consideration to the fans.
Like literally as well. It's
no
like
consideration.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid. That's the thing. It's so stupid. And I think, do you know what the most annoying thing is they've done it now in a global a pandemic, like we've mentioned, and there's no fans there to give them absolute pelters, and they've done it.
They knew that this was the right time to do it. They knew that no fans in the stadiums benefits them. If there were fans in the stadiums, there'd be seats getting torn up and thrown on that pitch. I guarantee you, there'd be people like when we saw at West Ham going up and trying to get at them board of directors. They'd be going for them. I guarantee it. It
would be horrific. Absolutely horrific. I don't want to imagine the sort of scenes that like would envisage and like people horrible. Trying to get to certain places within the state. It'd be awful. A couple comments we've had in. Shiv says, I know this is not so relevant and important at the minute, but like, are Sky or BT going to stream the games, or just be some American channel? Well, luckily for you, Shiv, mate, Disney are involved, so you can watch fucking SpongeBob SquarePants beforehand, watch your team get pattied, and then Mickey Mouse Clubhouse will be on for bedtime. You can pop a chalky milk. All right?
I just want to touch on that actually, because you obviously see the likes of Sky like almost promoting it through Gary Neville and obviously Carragher tonight. Like they will do that because obviously they hold the broadcasting rights, the majority of them right now. There's no chance in hell that they'll be able to afford I think the fee is around £4 billion for the Super League. It's double what the Champions League would bring. No chance will BT, Sky, any of them be able to probably afford that. The likes of Amazon, you'll see Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, those huge companies, they'll be the ones probably live streaming it. We've heard this whole Netflix kind of vibe.
Facebook are even one as well.
Yeah. Well, when you name these companies, they're some of the biggest companies in the world. There's so much money getting pumped into this. It's just like, it's literally impossible for like you said earlier, the governing bodies of FA, Premier League, UEFA are trying their utmost, to be fair. We've seen in the last 24 hours, they're going to try and ban everything. Whether they do that or not, we'll wait and see. But yeah, it's just too much money to almost say no in a way, if you know what I mean.
I mean, you can look at it as UEFA are trying to protect their own interest and their own money as well. This is just a money run game, and it has been for 20 years. You know, it's beyond the point of stupid. And everyone's driven by money. Everyone's corrupted their minds by the thoughts that football is all about money when it isn't. And I think it's going to take something like this for people, you know, higher up in the teams to realise, look, what are you doing? And there's that famous quote, wasn't it? You're ruining football for everybody. And they are right now.
Couldn't agree more. I know you boys have to shoot off, and we will wrap this stream up in a couple of minutes. So don't worry, I've remembered. But quickly before we do start wrapping up, a couple more comments in. Cara and Neville going to be an interesting watch. Talk about this absolute shit show of a competition. Harry, I don't think you could have said it any better, mate. To be honest. And then I guess Morgan and Ben, you're kind of out of this question. Dylan said, who are you supporting? What clubs are you going to support when in the ESL? So, Dylan, I know you're going to be an Inter Miami fan, so good luck with that because they lost last night. Chicharito did the magic. So, Josh, do you have a club that you're going to be levitating towards?
At the minute, no. Like I wouldn't really say like I've stopped supporting Man United as of right now. It's just going to be all to do with how everything goes. At the minute, I can't really see myself supporting Man United if they're going to be run by these absolute joke of people who just have nothing but greed on their mind. You just look around. Like it actually annoys me. Like I was in my commute back to university today. I saw at least 5 people on the streets. Like why don't you focus on like helping the community first rather than their own pockets? How much money do these people need? Like it's absolutely crazy to me. It really, really angers me inside, and that's why that I mentioned earlier that if it does continue and they just go ahead, like I imagine they probably are gonna, because I can't see how anyone is gonna stop it. I will no longer be supporting any of the teams within the whole competition. Yeah,
no, I think I agree. Like I said, I'm not at the stage where I'm not going to support Man United anymore just yet. But yeah, to be honest, obviously I still support my local club in Plymouth. But, you know, if I ever wore a Man United, like if United still went ahead with this and still acted in the way they're currently doing, and they probably will do, I will still wear Man United shirts, but I'll be wearing Man United shirts to represent my memories of the past and my memories that I've got from those times, and for nothing else really. Okay, I might have a little bit of interest. We beat Real Madrid in the Super League. Whoop-de-doo, fantastic. Great. I hope they get more money and stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna wrap up the stream. Before we do so, apparently this is coming from Matt Critchley. So this is from the Football Talk. Leeds are planning to wear shirts during the warm-up against Leeds this evening, which read, "Earn it on the pitch. Football is for the fans." So that might be an interesting one to look out for. The lineups are out, but as we said, it's not really relevant at the minute, to be honest, because there's a bigger fish to fry. Before we go, a few more comments. Toby up the Argyle. Yeah. That's all we need to say, mate. That's all we need to say. Dylan says Chelsea 9, Real Madrid 0. I don't really want to be thinking about Super League or Champions League fixtures, to be honest, at the minute. So yeah, that will do us. Morgan, thanks, mate, for joining us as always. It's always been a pleasure, and good to hear from you as well. And then Josh Branov, again, really appreciate you coming on. With a little bit of late notice, but I guess with the absolute monstrosity which has happened, and with your TikToks and with mine as well, it was only right to get you on. So appreciate. And for the guys watching who don't know the FPL graduates, you are literally living under the biggest rock of all time. So definitely follow them on Instagram. They're on Twitter, they're on TikTok, and they're obviously on YouTube as well. Drop them a sub as well. So thanks a lot, boys, for coming on. It's always a pleasure. We'll definitely have you back on. Unfortunately, an hour is not enough time to go through all this absolute clusterfuckery of a Super League. But we appreciate having you boys on as always. And if you are new to the SNS Football Podcast, please make sure you do drop us a sub. Trying to hit 50 subs ASAP. We are also on TikTok as well. We've merged over there. So if you want to follow us, it's literally SNS Football Podcast. You'll find it somewhere. We're also on Twitter, where we will post more stuff on there as well. So from me and from Morgan, and I guess from the FPL boys, thank you all for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we